Hello, this is our very first monthly video on research for the International Society for Astrological Research. Each month we're going to have a short video on some topic in research. We're starting this up in May 2018. And the first topic I have for you is exploratory research. And there's a good reason why I'm doing exploratory research is because I love exploratory research. So since I get to start this off, hey, I thought I'd pick something that I'm excited about. All right. Well, exploratory research is what you do already. You look at a group of charts and you see what themes are in common. Maybe you're looking at charts of jazz musicians and you're noticing things that are in their charts, or you're looking at the charts of psychics, maybe people that have the same psychological problem. And we're curious about these things. What's in their charts? And we explore the data. We don't have a lot of a priori assumptions. Maybe we have some guesses, we have some ideas, but we're open. We're not rigid. We don't have a specific hypothesis we're testing. This is a valid form of research. It even has a fancy name for it. Well, not that fancy, but an official name for it, exploratory research. Okay, so what's so great about exploratory research? Well, it gets really great and interesting when you remove cherry picking. And you'll hear this term a lot among people that are into research. Cherry picking just means that you have some control over what data you look at. So, when I'm looking at charts of jazz musicians or whatever, I pick out the charts that I'm looking at. And it may not seem like you're actually picking them. But to give you an idea of why modern researchers consider cherry picking to be such a big deal, let's look at what we usually do in astrology. Let's say you're going to talk about a zodiac sign. Let's just use signs because, we talk about them all the time. And we want to talk about, say, Gemini. What does Gemini mean? And maybe we'll give some example charts of people that have Gemini and show how they're curious, how they talk a lot. Well, what about Steffi Graf, the retired tennis player, one of the greatest tennis players of all time? Steffi was born triple Gemini, her ascendant, sun, and moon, and also the ruler of her ascendant, which is Mercury, is also in Gemini. She is Miss Gemini. I mean, you don't get more Gemini than this. Well, you could, but you're not going to get much more. So if we go through a database, which is what I did here, and we pick out the people with the most Gemini, well, obviously, she's going to pop out. She wasn't talkative. She doesn't have the obvious Gemini traits. What's going on here? Is it the 12th house? Well, if it's the 12th house, maybe we should put more emphasis on the power of the 12th house to mute or change the sign. And maybe it gives us a little bit of doubt about whole sign houses if we're going to do that. So the idea here is that you're exploring the data, but by not cherry picking. This is the big deal in modern research methods. By not cherry picking, we have to look at the people who come out strongest by whatever method, we call it sampling, however we get the charts. And one way is to have a database of charts and have some software that pulls out those charts, and out comes Steffi Graf, and we cannot ignore her. We've got to face the music, as the saying goes. What's the deal with Steffi Graf? Now, this is a kind of research we call qualitative. You may have heard of qualitative and quantitative. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of this kind of qualitative research, well, this specific kind of research, is that you're not restricted in your creative thinking process. You can come up with any ideas you want. What makes this kind of research exciting from the modern viewpoint, again, is that you don't pick the data. You go a data-driven set of ideas based on what you see. So we have to look at Steffi Graf, come up with an idea. So this is exploratory research, pretty much what you've always been doing. And I'm presenting you with this idea that if you do it without the cherry picking, then that's much more impressive, according to modern research methods. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't agree with it. But this is what we're going to do in this research group. We're going to explore different ideas about research, see if they're useful, see if we want to use them. I love this. I think it's fantastic, and I think it does help not to cherry pick the data. Here's just another example. Say Aquarius. Well, the country singer Clint Black, he has a little bit of Aquarius. All of the inner planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are all in Aquarius. So this is just, amazing. This happened in February 1962. I remember people were saying that the kids born at that time were going to herald the new age of Aquarius. So obviously the ruler of the ascendant, which in this case is Mercury, is also in Aquarius. So a lot of Aquarius. So the idea is we have to look at Clint Black when we talk about Aquarius. Here's another kind of exploratory research. I went through the database to see what the sun signs of astrologers are. There's 657 astrologers, and Leo comes out strongest, followed by Aquarius. What's the deal with that? So it's exploring the data. These are different ways to explore data. You can produce little graphs like this and see what you think of it. It's an open-ended kind of research. Now, I personally think that the Leo sun sign for astrologers makes sense. Doing our research on signs, zodiac signs, we came up with the idea that Leo has a lot to do with self-development, and people that empower people often have a lot of Leo. So you get interesting creative ideas. The psychologist Jean Piaget has a lot of Leo, and his life work was about how people develop as individuals. So it's interesting, it's exciting, and what makes it especially interesting again is that the data is not cherry-picked. So to introduce you to some terminology, by doing exploratory research on data that is not cherry-picked, we are able to make strong inferences from our sample of charts to the population of people. In this case, the population of people is astrologers. So population in research methods means the group of people that you're interested in, excuse me, and the sample is the group of charts you're working with, and you make an inference to the population. So we've just learned some important words in research methods. You'll hear terms like this all the time: sample, population, inference, exploratory research, etc. Okay, here's another kind of exploratory research not forecasting, again on astrologers, and to look at the Mercury-Uranus angle in the charts. And we find that around the septile, 151 degrees, the biseptile, 102 to 103 degrees, the triseptile, 154 to 155 degrees, the Mercury-Uranus angle is relatively high, fairly high for astrologers. Maybe that's just a blip in the data, maybe it's not important. But instead of going in and saying, I think astrologers have Mercury trine Uranus, why not just explore it and graph out the angle of Mercury-Uranus? So this is another form of exploratory research. And what's really important in exploratory research is often data visualization. There's another buzzword for you, a word you hear a lot about in research these days is data visualization. You just want to see what's going on. We don't have a strict idea. We're exploring the data. So lots of ways to do exploratory research. I love this stuff. I just think it's fantastic. I've learned a lot, developed a lot of new ideas. I think it's very exciting. Come up with insights that frankly I wouldn't have come up with otherwise. So that's our first video. Let me know what topics you want to cover. This is your group. I'm basically a conductor. If I started this off with my own video, but you can make videos, you can suggest topics, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. I'm just kicking this off. So one of our slogans is let's discover something together. Okay, well, I hope you found this first video interesting just to start things up. Thank you very much, my friends. Look forward to hearing from you. God bless. Namaste.